Good evening. This was our last week of waltz. So tonight what we covered was the double reverse, and there were a few key pointers that I wanted to make sure were communicated across so that you remember how to help the double reverse happen. So the double reverse, we're trying to get a full 360 in 3 counts rather than with the reverse turn where we're doing just under a 180 per 3 count. So in order to help this happen, there's a lot of details that we wanted to learn throughout the reverse turn that I've actually captured here. So the first one is ensuring that we have proper connection with our body when we start. So I want to make sure that my hips aren't out and back, that instead my hips are in under myself. I'm using my glutes to kind of pull that all together. And then same with my shoulder blades is I want to make sure that I'm bringing it up, around, and down. So the posture I want to have is tall, and I want all of the blocks in my body stacked on each other. So as I take a step forward, what I don't want to see is my butt coming out and my leg coming forward where it's just kind of like awkward trying to creep into the space. But instead everything's aligned underneath myself, and as I move, I'm starting from my hips in that action. So I'm stepping forward in 1. The thing I want to think about is that on the forward end of the action, I am stepping forward, directly through my partner. I'm not trying to skirt around. We want to think about lines and waltz rather than circles. So with that in mind, the next thing we want to talk about was as the lead, I want my frame to be nice and wide, because keeping that wide is going to help my partner stay left into my hand. And as the follow, we talked about trying to take the line of our bodies at an angle, taking our shoulders and leveling it out, so we kind of end up with this shape here. And then I want to think about holding my shoulder blade underneath myself as I rotate kind of counterclockwise on my left arm. So this creates a shape of kind of leaning on a shelf that might be just underneath my back, right? I'm just going to rest on that. So where my lead's hand would come underneath, that's what I'm resting on. So here's that shape I want the follow to have. Here is the shape I want the lead to have. So now as we lead through that, we want to make sure that we're maintaining that connection. What that should look like here is that my follow is past my tie line, has the line, right, and is resting into my hand, feeling like there's a weight on the back of her head, right, that's helping her stay to the left. So I want to keep this position the whole time as I'm dancing. What I don't want to do is let this relax and end up in this kind of thing where I can turn here, but instead we end up moving as one unit, right? As I turn this way, the frame stays regardless of what we end up doing. The next piece was the rise and fall. We want to make sure that we're rising throughout the movement, so it's not a sine wave the waltz looks like, but rather I'm taking my time rising up through 3 and then dropping off at the end of 3. So in my normal reverse turn, that looks like I kind of lower down on 1, I step through, I start to rise at the end of 1, I'm up 2, I continue to stay up 3, right? So now I'm at the peak of my rise on 3 and I lower end of 3. So this is kind of the shape I want to see of a sudden drop at the end. We're going to change that rise and fall a little bit here on the double reverse. The main trickiness in the footwork is we're going to now do a heel turn for the follow, and that necessitates that I delay that rise a little bit, and that is part of the lead that I want to show. So the footwork for the follow is going to step back with the right foot, getting out of the way. There should be a strong amount of contra-body movement position. That's where I take my shoulder kind of across my body, and I want to feel that turn. That signals the direction that we're trying to turn as the lead. So I'm going to step back with my right foot as the follow. We're going to heel turn 2. So I'm turning here on my heels and I'm shifting from my right foot to my left foot as I go through. So that's 1, 2. I'm now going to raise up at the end of 2. It's really hard to do slow. And then I'm going to step across and then cross my feet and 3. So I step in, cross 3, lower end of 3. So all together what that's going to look like with my, I'll step 1, heel turn 2, raise into 2, step and 3, lower into 3. As the lead, my footwork is much simpler, but the lead itself is much more difficult. I'm going to start with just 2 forward steps. So I'm going to go forward, forward. And then I'm going to do is I'm going to end up pivoting here to finish out that turn. So it'll end up looking like forward, forward, holding there. So it's 1, 2, hold 3. Once more. It looks like 1, 2, hold 3, hold 3.
Can you show it really quickly? Because I've got about 1 minute left on my battery.
Fair enough. Right, so all together, what this looks like, I'll pull my partner in. We'll take our frame here. Again, I'm going to go strong contra-body movement on 1. I'm going to delay to rise on 2, and then we'll lower end of 3. So it looks like 1, heel turn 2, 3, and lower down. Then one more time. And it should look like 1, 2, and 3. And that was it for tonight's lesson. Thank you very much.